Oh no, it's one of those videos. Yeah, so when I said it was going to be one of those videos again, I've lost my tripod. Yay! So, this will be cool. Now, I've no idea where it is, and as there's been a bit of a lack of content recently on the channel for a multitude of different reasons, I thought, well, screw it. Let's go back to the olden days and let's do this with a shaky hand and a shaky camera. So, here for your viewing pleasure is the Samsung laptop, which I have nicknamed the Crap Top. So, why is it called the Crap Top? Well, it has a few issues, in all honesty, and these seem to have been issues that it had from out the factory. Please forgive it while it seems to be updating the 3D mark. I was going to leave it just, you know, doing a nice bit of, I don't know, ice storm or something in the background, but it's chosen it has to do half a dozen updates, which is great. So, let's go over what it's got. I mean, first of all, you've got your Kensington lock around the back, a couple of USB ports, DVD drive, and headphone and microphone. LED status indicator lights at the front, SD card slot. You've got charging port, you've got your network port, VGA port, HDMI port, and a couple of USB 3s. Now, we've had this from brand new, it's a couple of years old. Obviously, I've upgraded the APU in there as well, and I've come prepared this time. It has got an AMD A8 5550M in it, which, as far as I'm aware, after extensive amount of research, was the best that could go in this machine. Tearing it down was not overly difficult, in all honesty. However, when tearing it down and being exceptionally careful, because I do this thing quite regular, the small captive threads in the plastic in the bottom of the chassis that hold the screen in place relieved themselves from the chassis. That was not because I was going at it like an animal either. It just seems to be little niggly things with this. I mean, the trackpad buttons can be a bit iffy and dodgy whenever they feel like it. Little things like little rubbers and things keep falling off. The speakers are not great. The design of the machine doesn't look too bad, in all honesty. I mean, if I can go back a little bit with my creaky chair, it doesn't look too bad. One of the major issues though, which I've already tried beforehand on camera and it didn't really come up that well, but I'll explain it anyway. The chassis is twisted. Why it's twisted, I have no idea. But this foot here has got an extra pad on it because it doesn't make contact with any surface you put it on, which is not great. The screen's got a ridiculous amount of flex in it. I mean, when you're opening the screen, you've got to do it with both hands, in all honesty. Despite the fact I try with one hand every now and again, it's got to be open with two hands. And like I say, I feel it's such a shame because the keyboard's fairly nice for a cheapo chiclet keyboard. The power button is quite nice as well. It's got a nice little glow to it and things. I'm trying to, as you can probably gather by the way in which I'm talking, I'm trying to not be too critical on this, but it's difficult. So, I'm kind of going to wrap this up, really. Would I suggest buying one of these series of laptop on the second-hand market? Not really. It's kind of difficult. It's very tempting by the specifications that are out there and the upgrade possibilities, as they do have socketed CPUs. Unless you go for one of the Celeron ones that were around, they're not. But if you go for one of the Intel based ones with an i3, etc., or you go for an AMD based one, regardless of what AMD based one it is, they're all socketed APUs. So you can get away with doing a few little upgrades. However, I have upgraded this to the aforementioned AMD A8 series CPU, and I've got to be honest, bearing in mind I made them as identical as I possibly could, so same SSD, same amount of RAM. The only difference between the two machines was really the APUs. My Toshiba C50 obviously is running the Intel i3. It's an old Ivy Bridge one. I think it's the 3120M. Yeah, I think it is the 3120M. Against this, now, in all honesty, this AMD based APU should have had the i3. It wasn't how it came out. Now, bearing in mind, Windows 10 is very good about being able to swap over to different hardware and it not blue screen on you anymore, unlike previous versions of Windows. Moving the SSD over, software was all the same. The installation was obviously the same. I moved over the memory because my Toshiba C50 has got 8GB of Corsair Vengeance memory in it, and it still made no difference. This machine still performed quite badly in comparison. Now, I'm not going to sit here and get into, you know, a great deal of benchmark tests and whatever else. I was using 3D Mark and I was testing with iStorm, and the results for this machine really should have been so much better than they actually were. So, bit of a shame all round. What am I going to do with this? eBay. It's I think it needs to go, in all honesty, and possibly my Toshiba as well, because it's getting to a point now where they're a little bit long in the tooth. I mean, my Toshiba C50 is a 3rd Gen i3, so it would be nice to get something with a little bit more power, especially as I'm looking to upgrade my cameras fairly soon to some very nice bits and pieces. I'd like to be able to have a little bit of a portable powerhouse with me to do some on-the-road editing and things. So the Toshiba, however nice it is for the price that it was, and however well it served me, is not going to serve me for much longer. This machine, I was hoping that it'd have a little bit more power than the Toshiba and could take over doing a few little bits and pieces on the side that the Toshiba still does every now and again. However, just didn't work out that way. So this series of laptop, don't buy one unless you get one ridiculously cheap online, but then have a good look at the chassis, a really good look, because the chassis is very, very cheap. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Comment, subscribe, etc., and we'll have some more for you fairly soon.